Hi everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studio Lou. Today I have a journal flip through for you of The Turn of the Tide, which is an old book. It is from, I believe, 1908. Let me double check. Yes, 1908. Okay, so let's get back into it here. So this is a journal that I used this old kind of water-themed book to create a sea witch themed journal because I came across this really beautiful, well-illustrated book that had an interesting tale to tell. It was called Sea Witches by Joanne Robertson, and the illustrations are by Laszlo Glau. And I just thought that they were really interesting. I thought the story was really interesting, so I've tried to keep the story alive in the journal. It is basically a Scottish tale about how when you have a boiled egg, you should always crack the shells up very small and not leave them whole, because if you do, sea witches will come for them. They will construct these sea ships out of them, and then they will essentially just wreak havoc on the sailors that will sail in them until the sailors are no more, and then the sea witches will move on, I guess, looking for their next eggshells. So it's from the point of view of a little boy who's told the story by his grandmother while they're having breakfast. And so I've left the outside of the book. I have sealed it, but I've mostly left it alone, except to add some of the story relevant art to the cover, these sea witches on the sea with these sailors in this ship. And then I've attached it with 4 gold brads, and there are gold book corners on all of the corners of the book. And at the bottom I've just attached this little shell. So this is a nice little book. You can see it as compared to the size of my hands. It's a nice little handheld book. It has 5 signatures. It's not overstuffed, so it doesn't have anything that's tying it closed, and there's lots of room to expand it. So on the end papers on the inside, I used the original book cover from the book. I backed it in some cabbage dyed blue paper, and I stitched across the seams of where it attached. So on this side, we see these ghostly images of these sea witches and the ship below. And then on the back, another of the sea witches, and it's been treated the same way, and it talks about the end of the story, which I will get to when I get there. I'll try to share the story with you a little bit as we go. So on the first page, we have this pocket that says, "With this weird warning, my Scottish grandmother served soft-boiled eggs for lunch." Oops, I have to take off those are my little stickers that tell me what signature I have. "When you're done eating, give your eggshells a beating, never leave them whole." And I've added some little eggs in bowls and cups here, and a little hand crackling up eggshells. Inside, or on the back here, is the kitchen and some of you'll see this repeating image throughout the book. These are illustrations from the book, so that's an original book page. And then I've made a tag here that was collaged. It's backed with some blue paper and lace on top, and it says, "A black cloud, white-edged, churning troubled waters white, gives sailors warning." And it has this hand here kind of dangling a thread with the moon. That's from a Release the Craft and digital kit. Then on this side, we have the book page, and you're going to see this beautiful illustration. These were the sort of side panel illustrations throughout the whole book, so I tried to use quite a few of them because they're just gorgeous. Then this is a belly band, and this is a Release the Crafted image. Wherever you see these kind of images with these eyes or hands, they're from a Release the Crafted kit. I believe it's her winter kit, but I thought it was so fitting for this journal. So just because it's like sea witches and they're kind of watching over you and like dangling their hands into, things they shouldn't be. Then in the back, this is cabbage dyed paper, and there are little illustrations of ships. This is a journal card. It says, "Witches raise a wall of water before the ship, steel sky, iron sea." And you see the ship kind of falling on hard waters, and then the sea witches are flying in the sky up above. And it's been stitched around. So I tried to carry the story throughout the journal. And there's just some writing space. And then this is from a vintage German bioscience book. Has some fish on it. And then this is a vintage ocean card, and it has a little tag in it from that kit, and it's on blue construction paper, and a little jellyfish here. And then a little another little sea creature down there. And I've sewn some lace here on this cabbage dye paper. And just some nice blue papers, and a little octopus up here. And then down here we have the dictionary definition of witchcraft and witchery, and it's been pasted down there. And then held onto this page with a rusty paper clip is this. So this is the original book plate of the Turn of the Tide book that I used for this journal. And from the other book, the Sea Witches book, I've added that amazing panel that I mentioned earlier. And in the back, I actually, when I backed it onto cardstock, I first tore a hole and stitched all around it, kind of like netting. Like I left some of the strings off the paper and connecting, because it kind of reminded me of like maybe a fishnet. And then I wanted to leave intact the copyright 1908 statement from the book. So it's a nice journaling card that, you know, reminds you of how old this book is. Just some nice writing pages, a little shell there, another side of that fish German book, and then this is all more of the ship illustrations. And then this is a page from the book. It says, "Silently they come, broom riding, hideous hags in search of eggshells." And on this side, you can see more witches, and it tips out, and there's the grandmother with the eggshell. "This story," she told, "ghastly ghost witches gather in the darkling gloom." And she's there in a pantry. And then this is another original book page with that nice image here, and you see some like the ocean and some green valleys. And on this side, we see some of the sea witches and that nice page again. And then this is more of the ship illustration. It's been cabbage dyed. And some writing space. And then this is actually from a Wild Swans book of another witchly-like image. And it has some cabbage dyed paper here for writing space. And then an underwater image of the same creatures. And then this is a large journal card that has been, this is a rusty paper clip. It's just been attached there. And I pulled it out from the book, The Turn of the Tide, just one of the little chapter toppers kind of, and pasted it down there. And this is backed onto vintage paper. And then we've got some lace running down this side. Most of the paper in this book is cabbage dyed, this blue tone, or possibly indigo dyed. There's some indigo dyed paper, the darker ones that have more of a darker blue tone. This is another of the vintage German bioscience book pages, and it has these shells. And then that's just a pretty piece of paper. And a mola mola fish. And this is the indigo paper I was talking about. And I've stitched down some blue lace here. And then here we have a pocket, and it has a bowl of eggs, and then there's kelp in the background. And then this is from a vintage Jacques Cousteau book, and it's a black and white image of a sperm whale, and it's just a journal card. It tucks right on in here. And then this fish, which matches the same color as the kelp. And here we have a cluster with a frog and some map and some vintage writing and some fabric. And then a pocket with a sea witch, and she's looking up here. This is a journaling tag with more of the sea witches. And I used, I fussy cut out that, from that side panel, I took the bottom of it and just topped the journal card with it. Another of those bioscience pages. Cabbage dyed paper, and just this lovely little sea creature here. It's like the bottom of an octopus. And then there's that same panel, and this is a side tuck, and it has this large journal card in it that continues the story. And we have this shell on the back. It says, "The drowned ship goes down the long throat of the ocean to cavernous depths." And over here is just lots of writing space and a bit of collaging and a little sea creature there. And more of the ship images and the witches. Hocus pocus pow, waving wands and witches' words work their magic now. And you see the eggshells all flying around. And over here, back at the house, down to earth they steal, weaving eerie evil spells and gathering shells. A ship heaves in sight, ahoy on the horizon, unsuspecting prey. So there's the ship. Wandering witches search the sea for sailing ships of honest seamen. So they go out. And then these are some ship knots from a large format encyclopedia. This has been cabbage dyed, this paper. More cabbage dyed paper. It's got shibori folds in it. And then this is another page from that Release the Crafting kit. And it's got the eyes there. Cabbage dyed lace paper. And then the dictionary definition of witching at the bottom. And some more lace here. And on this side we have this cute little book page of this girl and a mouse jumping out of the water looking at her. And I thought it was kind of an appropriate thing. I added a little flip out for extra writing space. This is indigo dyed paper. And then an octopus that's camouflaged in some blue kelp. And there's the octopus. And then this is just some different sea kelps, and this is a journaling card, and this is just a little tuck spot there. Just some different dyed paper, cabbage dyed, and this is a scrapbook paper. And another of those Bioscience German little pages. And another page from the Cold kit from Release the Crafting. Lots of writing space, more of the knots, another of those panels, and you can see a sea witch here looking out into the sea. And then on this side, it's another of those panels and more of the sea. On both sides, you can see the sea. Now this, if you can see, is actually a vintage photograph of like one of those long-legged, like, I want to say it's like a kind of a crab. I can't remember, but this is actually from 1958, this photograph. And I acquired a whole collection of like a deep sea photographer diver who was prolific in the 50s. His entire estate was purchased by an antique dealer that I know, and I was able to get a lot of his photographs, and this is one of them, so I will include it in here. And on this side is the ocean, and it says, hidden by the mist, seaworthy and watertight, they head out to sea. Shells turn into ships, delicate eggshell vessels, wretched roundabouts. So that's how they create their ship, is with eggshells. Some lots of nice blue papers. And then this is from the vintage Jacques Cousteau book, and it's on the ship knot paper. It's been cabbage dyed. And inside here, I just added a couple of vintage photos from my collection of vintage photos that I have. This is from May 1958, and it's a woman standing in front of Niagara Falls. And then this is just a man who I have a photograph of. It's just an old photo with some of that old cellophane tape. And I thought maybe this could be a sailor, and then this could maybe be his wife looking for him. I just kind of told this little tale and added them into it and cut waves into this picture of a ship. And then this is another of those bioscience pages. This is scrapbook paper. And then a rusty paper clip holding this. It's backed with vintage paper. And this is another page from Release the Crafting's kit. This like beautiful hand. It's got this thread all around it with stars and gold and this moth. I can't wait to make a journal with that kit. It's beautiful. And then this is some lace that's been stitched down. And on this side, we have a side pocket with a paper ruffle that's been zigzag stitched on. And inside is another piece of vintage ephemera. So I had a lot of sort of water themed ephemera, and I thought what a nice opportunity to use it and to share it. So this is a family standing, you know, in the water, and some of them are sitting on like a rickety dock, and there's a little boy up front who's just got his head poking out of the water. So I thought that was kind of an appropriate piece of ephemera. It's still on the original old black like photo album paper. This is cabbage dyed graph paper. And we put a fish in the middle there. Lots of cabbage dyed paper. And then this is just a little cluster with that nice side focal point from the Sea Witch's book. More ship knots. This nice blue paper is handmade. And then these are original book pages. Then here I use the side panel as actually like a belly band. So it holds on to this journal card with these sea witches. And it says, powdery remains of abandoned eggshell ships are left in their wake. So they've now destroyed the ships. And on this side, I did the same thing with that side panel as a belly band. And I just added this. This is a vintage image from the Jacques Cousteau book of some kelp underwater. Of course, Jacques Cousteau captured amazing underwater images. And then this is a cabbage dyed page of the ship knots from an encyclopedia. And this is a little pocket made from a book page from the Sea Witch's book. And I've added the definition of witch from a vintage dictionary. And inside is a tag that's been made from the Release the Crafting kit. And then just more dyed papers and more of that bioscience book. Little fish label here. And then this is actually a complete double sort of pull out of Release the Crafting pages from that same kit that I just wanted to add here. And it's on cabbage dyed paper, and it just attaches with this rusty paper clip. And then this is one of my original jelly prints. And we have a lace pocket here and a journal card inside, again with the sea witches. It says, escaping on brooms, sea witches cackle and shriek, their wicked work done. So they've destroyed the ships and then moving on. And some cabbage dyed and Release the Crafting papers. These are some little shell stickers here. And a little jellyfish, jelly print, seahorse, more dyed paper, another of the bioscience pages, and then at the back, another book page that says, whistling up the wind, whipping and whirring it around, they gather power. Witches wail and howl, hidden in a thundercloud, stirring up seas. And then I've made a journal card here with the images of the eggs, some salt and pepper in a spoon, and a reminder, when you're done eating, give your eggshells a beating, never leave them whole. And so that clips on here with a rusty paper clip. And on the back it says, the story's over, but be sure to remember grandmother's warning. And that would be, of course, this. So that is the Sea Witch's journal. If you're seeing this video, the journal has been posted in my Etsy shop, and I thank you so much for joining me on this little Sea Witch adventure, and I hope you have a great day. All of my social media information, including the link to the shop, is down below in the description box. Thanks. Bye for now.